Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb Podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Good afternoon. If you are just jumping on with me, come and say hi in the comments. If you're watching me on the replay, then give me a little pink heart emoji. If you're watching me live on Facebook, then give us a little green heart emoji. So we're gonna have a bit of a kind of energy clinic / conversation about something today. So we've got Kelly here from Team Hunter. I don't know what color heart. You're here live, so you're on the Zoom, so you don't need to post anything on here. I want you to, I think this is one of the first spiritual lessons that people don't realize that they're actually learning. And it is a very, very difficult spiritual lesson. And it's a spiritual lesson that will never leave you on the spiritual path. It will always be a lesson that you will deepen with as each year goes past. And that lesson is a very, very important lesson. And it is the lesson of discernment. Discernment. It is a very powerful, very potent lesson. Now, Skylar teaches a lot about discernment. So thank you, Skylar, because there is a lot to learn about discernment. The first thing is to understand that discernment and judgment are two sides of one coin. Discernment is the empowered version of the disempowered version of judgment. So judgment will ultimately always seek to disempower. It is its very nature. Skylar also teaches that judgment is our origin point of lack and being in the lack cycle. Okay? So judgment is our origin point of lack and being in the lack cycle. Now, Skylar also have a question that they used to torture me with in the early days of especially building this business. Are you judging it into your life, or are you judging it out of your life? And that question used to really, really torture me. And they used to torture me with it. And it is a very, very true question. What we are judging in others, we are rejecting from ourselves. So when we judge other people who are maybe wealthy, or other people who have things that we want, but we're judging them, guess what? We're also rejecting that vibration, that frequency from our energy field. So learning the art of discernment is really, really powerful. And every spiritual journey, I have literally spoken to thousands of people at this stage of where I've helped them on their spiritual journey, helped them in their spiritual lives. And without exception, the lesson of discernment has always been a lesson that comes up. So here how Skylar defines the difference between discernment and judgment. So judgment will say that way is no good. Okay? So it'll say that way is no good. And what will happen is that the entire way is tainted. The entire way is ruined. That way is literally no good. If you then come along and somebody who's standing in judgment and goes, that way is no good, you're a bit of an idiot if you go down that way, because the entire way has been tainted. Discernment, however, says, as an individual standing there at the road, they say, that way is not for me. The way is left intact, but the discernment has been made for the individual that that way is not a good way for them. And that means if me as a secondary person, I come along and I'm gonna, well, I hear that you say that that way is no good for you, but I'm gonna go down that way. I'm free to go down that way without a further judgment, because anybody who goes down that way that's no good is a bit of an idiot. But when the discernment is there, it says that way's not for me. I'm not going to go down that way because that way is not for me. It is. So discernment is this very, very powerful spiritual lesson. And throughout your entire spiritual awakening, spiritual life, spiritual path, whatever you are on, you will always have the lesson of discernment. It will keep coming up. And in business, you will really, really see the lesson of discernment. The lesson of discernment will come up again and again and again. And the problem is with the lesson of discernment is that discernment gets so jammed up with judgment, and the two end up locked together in the energy. And one of the key things is for us to not get locked into the energy. Now, one of the key elements to discernment is to begin to look around your life and consider the source. Consider the source, right? So I want you to be really, really honest. So let's take a deep breath. Let's get ready for the honesty here. Let's take a deep breath. And breathe out. Okay. How many of you have been hurt by something that someone has said to you that if we really think about it, they were not a good source, right? Maybe somebody said something about your fledgling business, but actually they've never owned a business in their entire lives. Or maybe somebody said something about our weight, and yet they were born skinny. They eat like a freaking horse, and they have no idea what it's like to look at a cream cake and gain a pound, right? So not really a great source for commenting on my weight, right? But how many of us have been hurt by someone who has said something, but actually on reflection, we can discern that they are not maybe the best source? Let me know in the comments if that's you, if you've been hurt by someone. Right, so Gretchen here is saying yes, of course. Max saying yes. Allison saying yes. Simone saying oh yes, right? And here is where this powerful and potent lesson of discernment should really be living with us. Because there is so many times where what's happening in our world and what's happening in our lives is that we are asking opinions or receiving opinions. Sometimes we don't even need to ask for them, right? We get that unsolicited opinion. But actually, if we consider the source, which is another beautiful and powerful and potent lesson from Skylar, consider the source, we realize that we can discern, not judge, but we can discern that the source is not really a good source for us. Let's leave the source intact. The source can go and do what the source wants to do, but for you, that is not a good place to be getting our advice from. That is not a good place for, it's like unhappy people advising you on how to be happy. And how many days of the year do you spend happy? Well, that would be 0. So you think you are expert on advising me to be happy? Not a good source. I discern that this source may not be suitable for me. But we want to be open and available to this. We want to understand that discernment is really, really key. But however, what we do is we allow a lot of unsuitable sources to cloud our judgment. We allow a lot of unsuitable things to cloud our judgment. And so the only reason that you got hurt by an unsuitable source is because you didn't give yourself permission to employ discernment. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. So Simone here is saying, I've known that lives ago, and I bought into so much of what was told to me about me. Yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, it's an important point. They have not lived my life, so how can they cannot judge, right? It was like, just like I have not lived their life. So exactly. So we're not in a place to judge either, right? But we are in a place to discern what is right and what is wrong for us. And here's the thing. No one else on this planet can actually determine and discern for you. That is the straight up, honest, God's honest truth. I cannot discern for you. I can give you my best advice. I can give you my best coaching. I can give you all of those things. But at the end of the day, if you are not engaged in your own life and willing to employ discernment to see what feels right for you and what doesn't feel right for you, here's why we do not grow as people. What we do is we put all of our faith, all of our self into being like looking for the guru, right? We're looking for the guru. Here's the top secret. You are the guru of you. And if you're not willing to employ discernment in your life, you stay stuck. You stay stuck. You stay on a level. Because what the universe is the universe wants to give you power, right? It wants you to access the fullness of the universal power that is available to you, right? Now, this came through in one of my master classes. This literally channeled through me the most incredible, awesome, mind-bending, scary vision came through me during one of my master classes. You might have been on that master class, but it was of a little child with a massive electrical conduit that was sparking, and they're holding the conduit in their hand, and the power of the universe is literally coming through this conduit, and they're holding the conduit and it's sparking, and you could literally cook a person alive with that conduit, right? That is not, you don't want that in the hands of a child. You do not want that in the hands of a child, right? So the universe is trying to give you power and trying to give you access to the fullness of your power, which is the universe. But is it going to give power to someone who is not even willing to take personal responsibility of themselves? Because you're the conduit. So if it's going to pump the power through the conduit, is the universe looking at you and thinking, that's the good idea. I discern that this person will hold this power responsibly. Or is the universe looking in discernment and discerning, this is a bad idea. The entire force of the universe through this human who has never been in a problem where they could admit that they may be part of the problem, who could never be honest about anything. They're not even honest about their feelings. When they're butthurt, they pretend that they're not butthurt. In fact, they laugh gaily and they're like, ha 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 ha, just to show the other person that they're not hurt, because they can't be real with themselves or anyone else. Yes, I think this would be a really wonderful person to place the entire power of the universe through. Well, we can all discern, bad idea, right? We don't want people like that with the power of the universe. So what does the universe do to help you? It starts to develop the gift of discernment. You start to get the gift of discernment developing for you, right? The gift of discernment is so powerful. And if you can't discern for yourself what feels right or wrong, that is where the work needs to take place, right? If you can discern this feels right for me and take full responsibility of that, the universe is like, this lady looks like she's ready for some power. Let's give her some oomph. But if we can't take responsibility for ourselves fully, we don't get the full access to our power, because the universe is like, I discern that is a bad idea, right? Because we aren't able to take responsibility for the power. And with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man, the movie, right? So, and please tell me I'm not alone here. Any other geeks in the house that love a bit of Spider-Man quotes? We love Spider-Man. Great movie. Exactly, right? So with great power comes great responsibility. And that is true. That is true. So the universe is seeking to give that power to those of us who are capable of holding the responsibility of the power. And if you are a person that can use discernment in your lives, and the more that you use discernment, the easier it becomes to navigate your power and to actually have access to it, right? So discernment is this key element of, we are looking to discern what is a good idea for us, what is not a good idea for us. But what that means is something really, really frightening to the human being. What do you mean? You mean I have to take responsibility for me? I can't just hire a coach and shove all my responsibility onto her. What? I can't just buy this program and learn through osmosis while not actually doing a single module of the program. What? To be the one to lead myself? Say it ain't so. But that is exactly how it goes, right? It's like, I can tell you the number one thing that has helped me achieve the success that I have achieved in my life is self-leadership, personal responsibility. Yawn, boring, but true, right? I wish I could make that sexier. I wish I could make that more fun. The results are super fun. You'll love the results, but it's that stepping up of saying, okay, the buck actually stops with me. And then not getting, not putting my energy in outside sources. Yes, I can outsource things. Yes, I can hire people to help me. But at the end of the day, even if I've hired somebody to help me get a specific result, it is me in my life that is responsible for that result, right? So you can hire people to help you shorten the learning curve, but it's your job to do the doing, because you can't get somebody else, right? Somebody else can't do it for you, right? Oh, sorry. Somebody else can't do it for you. You have to be the one that does it. You have to be the one that shows up. You have to be the one that leads yourself. So if we don't start our self-leadership with discernment, and that's where Spirit will begin to develop discernment for you. If we don't start our self-leadership with discernment, what Spirit will do is, because you've asked for, tell me, ladies, you can let me know in the comments. Do you have big goals? Do you have things that you want to achieve? Do you have stuff that you would love to achieve in life, right? So yes, you got big goals, right? So you ask the universe for something big. And the universe is going to take a little look-see in your energy field and say, does this person have the capacity for what they asked for? Ever had an instant manifestation? You ask for something, 2 seconds later, it freaking shows up and you're mind blown and you're like going, holy shit. Guess what? You asked for something, the universe took a little look-see, was like, that girlfriend, She can hold that vibration. She can hold that frequency. Let's give it to her. And it pops up instantaneously. It's an instant manifestation. Happy freaking days. Wonder why some of your goals are not manifesting? Guess what? Universe takes a little look-see. I discern not so much. This person is possibly going to be crushed or crumbled by the result that they are currently desiring. So what that means is they put you on a track for training, and they start training you and your energy. Well, one of the first places that they start training you in is they start training you in discernment, being able to discern for yourself what is right or wrong. I want to share a story with you. I once had a tarot client that came to me for tarot. So this is when I used to do a lot of tarot readings. So I would do about 10 to 20 tarot readings every week for years. And so I had this lady, she came to me and she said, oh, at the end of the reading, she was like, that was great. I really wanted my daughters to come along for a reading too, but they were too scared to come. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I said, hopefully you've met me now. Hopefully I'm not that scary. And she said, oh, no, it's not that. She said, they had readings about a year ago, and that person told them a lot of things that really frightened them, and they've been too afraid to go ever since. I was like, okay. And she was like, I wonder if you would speak to them. I'll pay you for your time. And I said, well, let's do it this way. I said, how about you don't pay me for my time for your daughters? And I said, I'll just speak to your daughters. And then if your daughters want to book in a reading after that, we can do that. But let's just have a chat with them, because, without really knowing what's going on, let's just get them to an even keel first instead, so that they're not frightened of their lives, basically, because these girls were terrified of their lives. So I sat down with both the girls, and and these are not girls, they're young women, they're in their 20s. The youngest girl, she was in a relationship, and she had been told if she was to stay in this relationship, and go and live with this person, that it would end in disaster. Okay. And then the older daughter, who was more voluptuous, she was told that unless she lost weight, she would never find the love of her life. Okay. Horrific. Absolutely horrendous. If you're a tarot reader, never ever do that. But here's the thing. The thing that made me so mad about the whole situation was that these things were accurate, because they were the girls' deepest fears. So what the tarot reader had done is actually read these girls' greatest fears and then hand them to them on a silver platter and say, there you go. I was able to see immediately that this was these girls' worst fears. So the youngest daughter, she moved in. Hold on 2 seconds. We need to pop this on Do Not Disturb. So the youngest daughter, she was, she moved in with her partner, which to the oldest daughter signaled doom, that she would be a spinster forever. Because now her younger sister had found love and is moving in with her man. So we were able to kind of unfuck everything. And I was really, really mad. And the conversation that I had with Skylar afterwards was like, you know what? You people in the spirit world, you'll just work with anyone. Right? So I was really on my high horse. I was deeply in judgment of this woman that had done the readings. And Skylar said to me, what did these two young women desire above all other things? And I was like, I don't know. And they said, Joanna, think about it. What did they desire? And I thought about it, and the answer that popped into my head was that they wanted to be strong women, strong, independent women. And Skylar said, yes, that's right. That's exactly what they wanted. And those are made, not found. Those are made, not found. Holy paradigm shift, Batman. OMG. Both girls admitted that while they were sat having their reading, they felt that the woman was talking bullshit. But both girls sat there to the end of the reading and then paid the woman. They're not a tree. They did have an option to say, may I stop you there? None of this is resonating. I think I just want to call it quits on the reading. But they didn't do that. And when I questioned them on it, like, why didn't you stop the reading when it really started to sound really fishy and really like not something didn't feel right? Like, why didn't you stop the reading? One of the girls went, I didn't think it was polite, to which her sister agreed. It was not polite to stop the woman halfway through the reading. Oh man. Do you think strong, independent women are polite always? Or is it that they're able to just be strong, independent women and say what they mean, even when that means not being polite? Right? It is impolite to myself to listen to bullshit. Amen. Right? What that made me realize is that, and for any of you that have ever worked with a client who has worked with another coach and your judgment comes full out and you're like, what the fuck has this coach filled this poor client's head with? Understand that that's when I understood that this person was also an agent of discernment. Some people teach us exactly what we need to hear. Some people teach us exactly what we need to hear inside ourselves by teaching us not the way for us. That way is no good for me. That's the discernment. And it's all good in the spiritual hood. Be Magic Insight 3 of the 13 Be Magic Insights that I channeled in 2016 says everything in your life is happening for you. Those girls were sat exactly where they needed to be in order to learn the next lesson to get on to the next place. But they continue to sit in the fear. Why? Because they weren't ready for that piece of their power. They were willing to give their power to another person because they didn't want to be impolite. What I have discovered in this journey of building my business and self-leadership is that my opinion for my life, nobody else's life, but my life, matters more than anything else. And it's the same is true for you. That your opinion for your life matters more than anything else. Coaches, teachers, spiritual teachers, they can lead you to truths that are true for them. They can lead you to different things, but it is up to you to discern whether that way is for you or not. And without the lesson of discernment, we don't get access to more of our power. Right? And these girls could still be polite. They could have said, can I just stop you there? None of this is resonating with me. I'm so sorry. I think I just want to call it a day on the reading. and I'll square you up for the time that I've taken or whatever, and then call it a day. But instead, they sat and listened for an hour of stuff that didn't resonate. And I said, well, did you never pause or stop or ask if you could take that? That's when I really knew that these young women were in big trouble in life. Because then they went, yeah, so you said you couldn't resonate with it. Well, I sort of just said I could kind of take it. Oh, really? So what you're telling me is you weren't even telling the truth to this person. And somehow they were supposed to have gotten an amazing reading from that experience. Of course, they had a rubbish experience. But that person did read their fears very accurately and then feed them back to them as though it was fact, instead of them being able to discern, I don't think this is right for me. And that's the key. That's the key here, is learning this gift of discernment, learning that we are discerning what's right for us. Because if we don't learn this gift of discernment, we won't get access to more of our power. We'll stay in a situation where we have some of our power, but not all of it, and not access to all of it. And as a sacred creator, as a person that is actually creating your reality, the more access that you have to your power, the more you can create that reality by design and on purpose. But why would the universe give you the power to create your life by design and on purpose if you can't even discern what feels right or wrong for yourself and then own it? Because when we're sat in a situation and we're thinking, this is awful, this is terrible, this reading sucks ass. And then at the same time, we then smile to the person politely and go, I can kind of take that. Is that a person that should have the conduit with the electrical power of the universe coming out the other end of it? Is this a person that is a good idea to give this conduit to? Of course not. Because what happens is we've got a situation here where they possibly couldn't handle the power. And when the power starts coming and moving through them, they are looking for the nearest person to discharge that power to. I'll give you another example. About 2 or 3 years ago, I had somebody get on a call with me to speak to me about my Divine Planning Abundant Profits program. So she told me all the things that were going on for her and all the things that were going on for her life. She was saying that she was finding it really difficult to be consistent in her business. She was finding that her sales were going up and down like a yo-yo. She was finding that she was going through what I call the feast and famine cycle. She was also recognizing, she'd also come to the awareness that the feast and famine cycle is not just a financial cycle, but is also an energy cycle. So her own personal energy was in feast and famine too, and that there was this lack of consistency. So we had a really great call, and she said, I told her about the Divine Planning Abundant Profits program. I shared what it does. I shared that it helps you to break the feast and famine cycle. I shared that it helps you to recognize the energy part of it. I shared that there is a super simple plan that will help you to start following, and that you can really start to build massive momentum in your business, and that you're not expending like max energy, that you're more building your business while aware of your own energy and what you actually have to give to your business. So she got to the end of the call and she said, hey, that was really, really great. I'm going to sign up. Send me the link to sign up. So I sent her the link to sign up. A couple of days later, I get an email from her. The email begins, convince me why I need your program. I simply just wrote back and said, I've spoken to you about my program. If it is a fit, go ahead and click the link. If it is not a fit, then it's not a fit. Here's why I responded in such a kind of way. Because here's why. If somebody can't take personal responsibility for their own buying decisions, that they require to be convinced to join a program that you have, what they're actually saying is, hey, I'm not very good at taking personal responsibility for myself. So here's what I'm going to do in the metaphysics. I'm going to make that your issue. I'm going to let you take the responsibility. Then when I show up and I don't do the work and I don't follow the plan and I don't really engage in any of the content, when I don't get the result that I wanted, I am going to use you as my get out of jail free card. Let me tell you, ladies, I am no one's get out of jail free card. I will hold you to a higher standard. The women in my world are freaking next level. They are extraordinary human beings. Why? Because they're able to take powerful personal responsibility for themselves, and that's why they get the results. That's why I would never, ever say, hey, I got this result for my client. It is a co-creation between me and my client. But I only led them to the information. They led themselves to the result. And I would never disempower my client by claiming I got the result for them. Unless it's a done for you service, I got no result for no one. What I did was lead them to powerful information that led themselves to receiving and achieving that result. That is an uncomfortable truth within the coaching world, because in the coaching world, we're often encouraged to say, I will get you that result. Unless you can find a really, really good recipe for a voodoo doll and get your client to actually do everything that you say, not going to happen. Because they have to be involved in it. They have to do the work, right? And that's the thing. And when somebody says, convince me, what they're actually saying in the metaphysics is, I'm not ready to take responsibility for my result. And therein lies the truth of not being ready for the result. So if I convince a person like that and I say, well, it'll do this and it will do that, and, you know, and we'll even make your tea in the morning and give you a wake-up call, how does 7:30 sound, and all of these things, what they are doing is they're looking, how can I take minimal personal responsibility for myself? And then if I don't receive the result that I want, how can I get that get out of jail free card? And I will guarantee you that that would be most likely, that person is most likely a pattern in their lives that they have repeated again and again and again. But I don't allow people within my world to keep repeating those patterns that actually keep them stuck, that actually keep them, which is why I say to people, don't purchase from me unless you're in desire of what I have. Because if you think that you should do my programs, you are completely and utterly in the wrong energy. If you desire to do my programs, you are in the right energy and you are going to show up and do the work. But if you should be here, then you're putting an additional pressure on yourself and you're not in the right vibration and frequency for the miracles to happen and for the goodness to happen and for the good vibes to happen. Equally, if you require convincing, convince me why I should join a program of yours, again, you are not ready for the results. That's all that screaming. That doesn't mean that you're going to be in that state of energy forever where you are not ready. It just means you got some maturing to do. right? And we all are on this journey. Like my next set of results that I want for myself, I have to mature into them. If I know I have to mature into them, because otherwise they would be here in my life right now. Your next set of results that you want, that you would like to have, you have yet to mature into them as well. But the key that's going to help you to mature into things is learning discernment, being more honest about what's working for you and what's not working for you. I'll give you another example of this, and this is something that some of you may actually be doing right now in your businesses. In the early days of my business, of this business I'm in right now, because I've been in business for over 25 years, so I've been self-employed for all that time. And so in this business that I'm in at the moment, right, like in the early days, somebody said, hey, I want to buy your program. And I was like, woohoo, clients. So exciting. Oh my God, beside myself, right? And I think a lot of people in the early days of your business, you are like, woohoo, clients. But very, very quickly, you will learn a lesson of discernment that all clients are not created equally. Some clients are soulmate clients. You click, everything is awesome, everything is amazing. Some clients, not so much. What's going on? Well, what's going on is maybe you have not been, maybe you've learned something like the law of attraction, right? And you're like, every human being on the planet, I can fix you, I can help you, right? That's your MO. You're like, I know energy, I know the law of attraction, like come one, come all, I will sort it for you, right? Law of attraction is a powerful, amazing, incredible tool for life. And yes, it can help every human being, but that does not mean you can help every human being. Because guess what? We don't like all human beings. So, and we have to use discernment for that. So very, very quickly, I discovered I do not work well with muggles. I am for magical folk. That is who I'm here for. I am not for convince me the law of attraction is real. I want to work with the people who are like, the law of attraction is real, and I want you to show me how I can get more out of it, because I freaking already love it. Then I'm the person, but the person that's like, proves that it works. Why would I waste my energy there, right? Why would I waste my energy there? But I had to learn that through the lesson of discernment. So my marketing got tighter, my marketing got better, because I was applying my discernment to my marketing. I was saying, actually, you know what? I am not a one-size-fits-all human. There is people on this planet that when we work together, legit magic happens. Then there is humans on this planet that I probably am not going to work that well with. And muggles is a good description for those people. People who do not want to believe in magic, people who do not want to believe that there is something else, people who do not want to believe that they could create a life by design. I am not here for them. And that is okay. Because there's someone else out there to serve them. I've got to believe in that, and I've got to trust that. And this is what I want you to really think about is, in your life, in your business, are you applying discernment? Let me know in the comments. Or now that we've had this conversation, are you starting to think, maybe it's time for a radical, honest conversation with myself and decide where I could be a little bit more discerning and say, actually, you know what? And this channeled through me in another live that I did called, Are You Tall Enough to Ride My Ride? Do you remember when you were little and you ever went to like a fun fair and they had those rides with the little signpost? And if you were short like me, you stood on your tippy toes to try and be tall enough to ride the ride. And the absolute sheer fucking devastation of not being tall enough to ride the ride. But let's face it, why was that sign there in the first place? It was there for the safety of me. Are you tall enough to ride the ride? What makes somebody tall enough to ride what you have to offer and give to the world? Or are we still in the frequency and the vibration of come one, come all, I will serve anyone? Or are we in discernment of actually, you know what, I'm not here for everybody, and that's okay. No judgment. I'm here in discernment. There is certain people in this world I have discerned are a way better fit than other humans. And those are the humans that I'm here to serve. Once we take ownership of that and we own that, it's a lot easier to become magnetic to our ideal clients. So important to be authentic, absolutely. I can guarantee you that there's one thing that prevents people's businesses from growing. It's like one energy, and I call it the fuck my life vibes. Anything in your energy field that makes your energy field start to cave in on itself, and you're thinking secretly, or maybe loudly, fuck my life right now. Anything like that, you are not going to want to expand that energy. So guess what? That offer that you might be procrastinating on promoting, I guarantee you, I can smell them from here. There will be fuck my life vibes somewhere in that. That marketing that you haven't put out. What does that smell? Oh, the fuck my life is in there. That thing that you're not really willing to do, what does that smell? Oh, it will be the sweet smell of fuck my life, which is why we're not doing it. Right? Why? Because we have not set a standard. We have not said, why did those two girls not want to have another reading? Oh, giant whiff of fuck my life. Why would they want to go and pay for fuck my life? Right? But we now know why. Because not one of them said when the thing wasn't resonating, it's not resonating. They just sat there and let it continue and then paid the woman, you know? So we have to really realize that our discernment is this key to being able to turn up the volume on our business, right? What if it's a block to transform and appear like fuck my life? All blocks will appear like F my life. But what Skylar teaches is that there is actually no such things as blocks. Blocks are locks, like L-O-C-K, lock. They are locks. And therefore, the energy is locked up. Why is the energy locked up? Probably because you're not applying discernment somewhere in your life, and you're coding for energetic protection to protect you from further F my life vibes. So that's how it works in the energetics and the energy. So for the last few minutes of this live, what I thought to do is, if anybody is struggling with anything energetic, let's see how discernment can help you in creating a new paradigm or a new structure in your energy field to start building something out because of discernment. So if there is something that you're struggling with and you're happy to share it in the group, now remember, this does get posted on YouTube. So as long as you're happy for the question, pop a little question below, and then we will get to it. And then I will answer the question, and we can see how we can workshop it and see how. So Simone here is saying a health issue. So do you want to unmute yourself, Simone, if you're happy to speak with me?
Yes.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hello. You want to know what the health issue is?
Yes.
Okay, it is periodontitis, when that's one issue and the other is hair loss. I already eliminated some stuff because I had been in too much stress. So I really, got it down, and still it's like, I'm not sure if I just need some time or if there is something where I don't own anything, because what I got is even looking at fear issues. And interesting is some of those fear isn't even mine. At the moment, it's kind of like stagnating, but it's the balance between doing too much, because I tend to do too much, and give me the time. So at the moment, it doesn't really feel like it's anything of the old factors.
Okay, so the first thing that we need to know when we have a health issue is that we have the what I call agent illness. So agent illness is any diseases, any health issues that manifest inside the body temple. And agent illness is the last of 3 agents that are sent. The first agent is sent from the emotional branch. So the first agent usually to arrive on the scene within our energy field is the agent, I don't feel good. That is quickly followed by the outer branch of agents. So that's people who trigger us, push our buttons, annoy us, rub us the wrong way. And then finally, when we've successfully ignored the emotional agent and we have successfully ignored what's being highlighted by the people pushing our buttons, eventually the universe will send agent illness, the health issue. So when you were speaking there, one of the first things that you mentioned is, I don't know, but maybe I need time, right? And then you also said that you do a lot of things, okay? So here's what I can know from just that small piece of conversation that we've had, Simone. You are a person that overcommits yourself, okay? So you tend to say yes, and then later on, you will have a bit of a regret and you'll be like, why did I agree to that? Am I right?
That's where I came from. I'm not doing that anymore.
Right, exactly, right? But
I'm not doing that anymore because, it always tenders.
Keep using discernment because you're still doing it, right?
These
health issues will start to clear up in your body temple. They'll start to heal within your body temple. So you've done really, really well. You've used discernment for the first phase, but there are still areas where you are overcommitting yourself, right? And while those areas are still there, the need for the agent will also still be there. You'll no longer need this agent when we have totally cut the energy right back. So it could be that you need, although you're feeling like you're resting a lot more than you used to, it could be that you're actually needing a lot more rest than we're currently giving ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it isn't in the outside anymore. The problem
is
the beginning of the outside being too much. I just try to find the right words. I came from a family where I was responsible for everything. That was kind of my role, and I had to be the one that was kind of bad. Didn't matter what I do. And in the end, I needed to set up boundaries and to step out of my family because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work because I'm different and I'm not.
You are what I call the breaker of chains. You are what I call the breaker of chains. Okay. Yeah. So when you've been born into a family and the whole family's a certain way and you are not that way. And usually what you find is the family has either no boundaries or extremely weak boundaries. There's a lot of overgiving, there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of these types of energy within the family.
Yeah.
Into families like that, in pretty much every generation, there is somebody born into that family that I call a breaker of chains. A breaker of chains is someone who literally came to break the patterns of their family. And when we come to break the patterns of our family, we are never popular. I am the breaker of chains for my family. And let me tell you, it has not made me popular with my family.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Can I own that about myself? Can I discern that what I am doing is right for me?
Yeah.
Or I can live my life to keep my family happy, or I can live my life to keep me happy, right? Now, I tried it the other way the first time, to live my life to keep my family happy. So, my mom and my brother and all of these things, I tried really, really hard to be all the things. And guess what? I didn't succeed. And here's why I didn't succeed, because no one can think and feel for you. So you can't think and feel for another human being. So you never know when you have created a state of fulfillment for another human being. But there is one person on the planet that each of us can know wholly, completely, if we have created a state of fulfillment, and that's ourselves. So when I started to live my life more in alignment with fulfilling myself, in fulfillment, I became very unpopular with my family, aspects of my family, because I started to live my life for me, which meant I started saying no to some of the things that they were asking of me or wanting from me. And that no longer was how I rolled. So I was like, no, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me, but it will be a no. And of course, that didn't go down so well, especially as I started to model strong boundaries, and certain people within my family didn't have very strong boundaries. And also as well, they find strong boundaries something to resent. And so in doing that, what I had done is now I am focused on making the one person in the world that I can truly make happy. But here's the thing, my immediate family, like my husband and my children, because I am happier, because of how I am choosing to live my life, or discerning how to live my life, everybody who is in my immediate world, my husband, my children, they are happier as a result as well, because I'm happier. But before, when I was trying to please all the people all the time, I really felt like no one was happy. I wasn't happy. And it didn't seem like whatever I didn't seem like it was enough to make anybody else happy. So when and for me, agent illness was the agent that literally gave me the power to start realizing this agent is serving me, and it's showing me that I was worthy of my own self-love. And this agent, and it was actually agent illness that put me on the path of self-love, and realizing and recognizing that I could take ownership of, before I was apologizing. Every time I had a strong opinion, I'd be like, well, my opinion is, but I'm so sorry for having it, family. I know it upsets you. But then I realized that I stopped apologizing for my strong opinions, and I started to own them instead, and say, well, this is me. And, if you don't like this, it is okay to say you don't like that, and you can move on and move forward. We're not trees. We're not rooted in the ground. We can move. But before, I used to be really, really pressured and do things within my family situation to try and keep the peace of my family. And for instance, my brother's first girlfriend, I was not a fan. And, and that was my discernment. That person is not for me. But yet my mom was very insistent, keep the peace, better to have a friend than an enemy, these types of advice. So I did. And of course, what I ended up doing was creating a bigger and bigger and bigger rift within myself of not being true to myself, not listening to my own opinion, not listening to my own. Meanwhile, interestingly enough, what was happening in my outer world was no one listens to me. Could that be you, Joanna? Because you don't listen to yourself, and then when I finally put my foot down and said enough is enough, because I don't really like who I'm being to myself, and I put my foot down, only then did things really begin to change. And not only that, within 11 months, some real big truths came out, and my brother and his girlfriend split. And at that point, I wasn't even part of the equation. I had done what you had done, which is to cut them out of my life.
Yeah, because it was enough. I'm not in that place as a child anymore. I won't let myself treat that way anymore. And interesting is that illness runs through our family on the female side.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because, where I got goosebumps is owning that I'm the chain breaker. It may not be a nice feeling, but still, I need to break the chains, because for myself, I need to be finally free from that pattern of giving myself up for others.
Absolutely. It's a pattern of self-sacrifice, and you've come here to break the chains. And in you being here to break the chains, yes, you won't be popular, but you can own it. And at least you will be able to look the woman in the mirror and like her, because you broke the chains. But the thing is, we don't just break the chains for ourselves. The reason why people don't like us when we break the chains is that now they're shit out of excuses.
Yeah, because now they need to look at themselves. It's not you are the problem. No, shit.
Exactly. Now they have to look at themselves, and that is deeply, deeply fucking uncomfortable for them. Yes. Because it has been easier for them to run their lives with their head in the sand. And when you come along and you break the chains and you say, enough is enough, I will no longer participate in this pattern, even though my entire female lineage has been participating in this pattern, I will no longer participate in this pattern. Then you are not popular, because what you are doing is you're challenging their normality. But their normality sucks. How do we know that? Because we've lived that normality and it sucked while we lived it. But we can't discern for them that it sucks. They have to be the one that wakes up to themselves and say, that sucks. But sometimes it only requires one person to interrupt the pattern and break the chains for the whole chain to collapse, and for everyone to look and go, well, I'm really, really annoyed. I'm really, really annoyed at this person in my family. And then they sit with it and they sit with it and they sit with it and they sit with it, and they're triggered. And eventually the trigger leads them back into a better vibration. All your triggers are there in the first place to lead us into a better feeling vibration. That is the purpose of triggers, is to lead you into a better feeling vibration. And so if you become the breaker of chains and you really own that, and you really take that role seriously, that I'm here to break the chains for me, you will become a beacon of light within your family to show them that it's possible to break those chains. Now they have to use their discernment, whether they want to continue in the pattern that they're in, which has not been working for them, but that's okay. It's up to them if they want to keep continuing in it, or if they choose to break the chain. If they choose to break the chain, then they have to make different choices for their lives. But what you have done is showed that different choices is possible.
Yeah.
So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Beautiful.
And for me, it feels really like it is around consciously owning it.
Totally.
Not feeling guilty about it.
No, don't feel guilty about it.
A little bit of guilt. I don't know if it's actually mine, because I fetch up energies and feelings of others, but it's around well, I'm not here to be the nice one anymore because I wasn't nice to myself, to be honest. I wasn't nice to be allowing other people to have that much power over me.
Exactly. And why would the universe give you more access to your power if you won't even take if you will let anybody come along and have power over you? The moment that you take personal responsibility of your power and say, I am not allowing another human being to have all of this power over me, you then code for your own power because now you are capable of handling it.
Yeah, makes sense why it is step by step.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Matt here is saying, I'm feeling very tired, so business feels pressured. I decided not to do an Akashic group reading this month. Instead, I do a meditation and a free mini card reading event. Perfect. So discerning what feels right for you. And I would say, if we're feeling very tired this month and still feeling very pressured, does this feel easy or is this, I must still do something, right? So you've got to discern whether that is still that energy of I must still do something. One of the things is in our business is that, in fact, this is a really good thing. We can take a straw poll of this, right? How many of you believe that in order to make sales in your business, you must do something? Like in order to make any money, in order to make any sales, you must do something. You have to do something, physically do something. So, okay. So yeah, earn it. We've got to earn it, right? So this thing that we've got to go out there, we've got to do the good thing, we've got to do the thing, right? Here's the thing. In order for you to make money, as long as you have an avenue for money to flow to you. What's an avenue? An avenue is like perhaps that you have a PayPal link, or you have like offers on your website, or you have something that is there for sale, right? You don't actually need to do something when you don't feel like doing something. That doesn't mean that you will forever feel like doing nothing. If you forever feel like doing nothing, you are clearly not in the right business, right? But we are in energies of ebb and flow. And we can still, like, one of the things that has like literally fried my fucking brain, like totally fried my brain, is in my earlier businesses, I built my first 4 businesses, 6-figure and multiple 6-figure businesses, all from the energy of hustle, right? Like I was proud of my hustle. I was like, I thought that if I didn't just use discernment for this, I used pure, unadulterated judgment. If you didn't hustle, you didn't know. You weren't either to get some, right? The early bird gets the worm, all that. I bought into all of it. I was like, give it to me. Yes. Right. I was literally like one away from being a man because I was so out of feminine energy. It was unbelievable. And the only way that masculine energy gets results is by getting them. So you have to go out there, you have to hunt, you have to crush it, you have to kill it, and then you will get results, right? Like all lovely masculine energy. Feminine energy is receptive. It's just receiving. So when I told this story recently, actually, so when I was building my business, this business I'm in right now, I decided that I made a really, really conscious decision. And the conscious decision that I made was that if I could not build this business from divine feminine energetics, I did not want to know. I did not want to build this business if I had to keep employing masculine energy, which had led to my burnout. I did not want this business. I'd rather just find a regular job and go and do that each day than build a business from that very, very unaligned energy. So I wanted to learn, and it was a bit of an experiment because at the beginning of this journey, I had no idea whether you could even actually build a business from divine feminine energetics. Everything that I read, everything that I'd seen up until that point was all about doing business from the masculine way. Like even like things like your ICA, your ideal client avatar, right? That's coming from Paleolithic times, right? Honey, what would you like to eat today? Well, babe, I'd like mammoth today. Okay, well, I'll go hunt you mammoth. That's our ICA, our ideal client avatar today is mammoth. Let's go kill mammoth, right? So divine feminine energetics is not like that. It's a different energy, it's a different vibe. So when I first decided to build the business, and in the early days of building this business, like it wasn't always easy because I'd come from a very masculine business world. And so there was this temptation to like little patterns of masculine energy sneaking in. And I was like, no. So I realized that I was starting to like be all work and no play. So I said to my daughter, come on, we'll go down to Edinburgh and we'll go and hang out in Edinburgh. And we'll go to Edinburgh and we'll go and chill and have a really, really lovely, lovely time in Edinburgh. So I decided on the way down on the bus, I was sitting thinking deep in thought, and I thought, I want to be really, really present for my daughter, because the whole point of me building this time freedom business is to actually have the time freedom to do shit that I want to do, like go to Edinburgh with my daughter. So I made a decision that the whole weekend I would be fully, fully present and in my presence with my daughter. I would, really use this as mother and daughter time. So we get down to Edinburgh and we put our suitcases in the hotel and we've gone and done a little bit of shopping and things like that. And we're having lunch and my phone dings, like ding, ding, 2 rapid successions of my phone. And I was like, you are testing me right now, universe. But I was like, nay, I will not look at that phone. I will be present with my daughter. I will eat my lunch. I will be present in this moment. So my daughter goes, you're not going to look at that. I'm like, no, I'm good, thanks. She's like, but what if it's important? Take a really, really deep breath in. I'm like, holy shit, there's nothing more important than my child in this moment. So no, there is nothing more important than my child in this moment. So I'm like that. And I'm like, you are modeling that there is nothing more important than the people that matter the most to you right now, to your daughter. So do not look at that fucking phone, Joanna. Right? So I was sitting there and I'm like, so she says, in the end, this is nearly breaking my daughter. She's like, please, will you just look at the phone? So I said, okay. So I realized, okay, to be present with my daughter, I will look at my phone and I will tell her what's up, but then no more. I'm going to put the phone back down. And I put the phone back down. And this was a real paradigm shift in my own consciousness this moment. I looked down at my phone. I look up. I look back down. I look back up. And I look at my daughter and I was like, well, that was just the sound of your mother making $4,000. Just like that. I didn't do anything. I had an avenue for money to flow. I was fully present in the moment and I was fully present in my life. I was content with not even looking at the phone. Had made that choice. I'd made that decision. And yet 2 people, one after the other, had literally signed up for 2 packages that were available on my website. And they had literally just found them, signed them up. In that moment, I realized the power of divine feminine energetics. I realized the absolute power of divine feminine energetics. I realized that it was not necessary for me to always do something. That divine feminine energetics, by its very nature, is receptive. Sometimes you can just be to receive. And it was a really, really important moment. And I'm so, so grateful that I received that lesson in the way that I received it. It felt like I was rewarded for doing something that felt counterintuitive, because my old way of doing business was get your nose to the grindstone and show the fuck up and do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again, and then you will get the result. But my new way of doing business was to listen to my energy and follow its cues, which was, I'm feeling all work and no play, and I want to go out and have some play. So I booked a trip for me and my daughter, and we went out and we had some play. And then I was determined that I wouldn't go back to old habits of like looking at my phone or watching what my business is doing. I was really going to give myself the permission to switch off from that. And I still made money. And I thought, wow, holy shit. And this is it. And now that's just one example of, I literally have hundreds of examples like that now, where I've gone away or I've gone and done something. Or one of my highest grossing months, the whole month just felt like play, and we did $175,000 that month. Like, shut the fucking front door, you know? And in my mind, in my logical mind, it's like, that shouldn't be possible. That should not be possible. And yet, when I'm not holding my energy tightly and I'm holding my energy, what I call loosey-goosey, going with the flow, things are always financially better for me. But it's a fine line, because your ego self, your logical mind, you have to do something. But if there is offers out there, if you are out there in the world, yes, I don't agree that you do nothing. But although I've had clients who have literally done nothing, and because they are so aligned in the energy, money has found them anyway, right? So that happens too. Because alignment is literally the queen, right? Like, that is the queen energy, is like when you're fully in alignment, things happen for you anyway. But the key is that, you know, if you've given yourself avenues to receive and you have avenues for receiving, it's a lot easier to give money to you. And therefore, you do not always need to be in the energy of doing. We should be in the energy of doing when it feels in alignment to us and it feels aligned, it feels good for us. If we're doing from an energy base of like, this sucks, this is so hard, this is so difficult, pushing the boulder up the hill, what we create in that moment and in that energy state is we actually take away from ourselves. We actually don't create more for ourselves. And the only creation that is created in that moment is from hustle. And what hustle requires is you to keep maintaining it. So the minute you stop hustling, results go away. The cool thing with divine feminine energetics is it builds on momentum. So you could literally disappear for 2 days, don't post a single goddamn thing on your social media, and you probably will still be gaining momentum and still be moving. You could even disappear for a week and still be gaining momentum in your business, because you're building from a different energy base. And that energy base is a receptive energy base that's all based on receiving, not getting. So receiving is where you are open to receiving, and getting is where you're not open to receiving, but you still want something, so you're going to go out there and get it. You have to go and fetch, which is why so many people work too hard in their businesses for too little, because they're going out there and fetching. They're not opening their energy to being receptive. But these are the sort of things that we teach inside Divine Planning Abundant Profits. We teach you how to get your energy into a more receptive energy, how to use discernment in your business, and how to use discernment in your business. We do monthly coaching calls in there as well. So all of these things are really, really powerful to help you to really align your energy in a way. But the thing is that, you know, we have lived, and I hate to make this like sound like a man-hating thing, and it's certainly not, because many women are capable of masculine energy, masculine and feminine energy, regardless of what gender that you feel that you belong to. It is present in everyone. But society is a patriarchal society. We know that. That is a fact. And in this patriarchal society, we have prized masculine energy above feminine energy. And therefore, the way of doing business is being prized. Masculine way of doing business has been prized above the feminine way of doing business. And in fact, the feminine way of doing business is so misconstrued within our society that we don't even know what it really looks like. We're not really sure. What is it? What does it look like? And the best way that I can describe feminine energy, it was given to me by a lovely client. Her name is Aline Bender. And she was in sales. That was her background. She was in sales, and she started with this company, and she basically started doing it the way all the men were doing it, and her results were rubbish. It was really, really shit. And so she thought she was going to have to quit her job, but she really needed the money, and she wasn't making any money because her sales were all based on commissions. So she thought, okay, I've got this opportunity in front of me. Like, I need to come at this logically. I need to sit down and really, really think about it. And she sat down and she came up and she told me this story of like how she changed the face of sales for her forever, but also became within 1 year the top sales associate of her company, from not being able to sell a goddamn thing to the top, winning prizes, like getting cars, shit like that. It was just amazing what she did. She realized that men hunt and women don't hunt. So men look for their ideal target customer, and they target their customer like the hunt. And they sharpen their spears, and then they go out and they fetch that, and they're singular in focus. Men are singular in focus, is what she taught. So I was like, okay. Then she says, I put myself in the shoes of cave women. And I was like, okay. And so the men are all off on the hunt, and they're left at home with the children, but they're starving. So they've got to go now and feed their kids. What are they going to do? So the men have taken all the weapons and they are hunting, and they're hoping that the men are going to return with some type of sustenance and nourishment. But these women are like, hey, we want to eat every day. So they start looking around and they find berries and they find other plants that they can eat. So they start eating plants, and they're like, hey, this is pretty sweet. We're going to eat every day. Then one of the women, she reckons, this is the story she told me, one of the women reckons like, hey, what about if we got like these seeds and planted them near the village? This is how farming started, right? So the women farm. So she says, that was when I had the realization that how I make sales my business, I farm. I stop hunting and I start farming instead. So she did. So what do farmers do? They plant seeds, they tend young shoots, and they bring in the harvest. So that was the piece that I created from that, from what she told me. She said, I just started farming. And I thought, what's the farming process? The farming process is plant seeds, tend young shoots, and bring home the harvest. Do you bring home the harvest the minute you've planted a seed? No. You have to plant the seed, you have to tend the young shoot, and then you bring home the harvest. But guess what? If you do the farming right, you get to eat every motherfucking day. So I was like, I like this. I like this approach of, and she says, women are community-based and community-orientated. So all I did was build a community. I was like, I can do that. All of you listening to this, you can do that. And this is the power of understanding feminine energetics and feminine business, because once we start to understand feminine energetics and we start to understand feminine business, we start to approach the business world in a different way. See, the masculine is either you're my ICA or you're not. So if we're hunting mammoths today and you happen to be a mountain lion, well, you're not on the menu. So the opportunity of making a connection with a mountain lion, it's gone. But within the community, there's opportunities for multiple opportunities for more than just one group. And this is one of the things that where masculine business and feminine business clash, because masculine business has you writing out your ICA, totally convinced it's her name's Maggie and she's got 2.5 children and a dog and she lives in the burbs and she's 40 years of age and she's this. And anyone that doesn't fit that customer profile, well, you're not my customer. But if we look at just this group of people who are listening to this call, we have all different walks of life, all different age groups, all different backgrounds, all different familial situations, like so much diversity. Divine feminine energy in your business allows for diversity in your business. Divine masculine energy does not allow for diversity. But within that diversity, I still have discernment. Does that make sense to everybody? So I hope that today has really helped you guys. We'll do one more question. I think we've got one here from Donna. I'm working on this change. I had ancestral healing session and worked on my mother's timeline as the first of 4 timelines. It's amazing what shifted in just a few short weeks. I don't think that's the question there. Okay, does anybody else have another question? And we'll finish up on one question, on the last question. Let me know. I'll go and check the Facebook group to see if there's anything there. Just see if there's anything there. So, yeah, let me know if there is any more questions, or are we all good today? So Carol here is saying this was good. How to stabilize to center ourselves. Okay, so this is a really, really good thing. So how to stabilize to center ourselves is really discernment. So we're back at the very, very start of this conversation, Carol. So I really love this question. It's a beautiful question to see us out in today's session. So it's all about discernment. Only you can discern for yourself. There isn't another human being. There's other people that can advise. There's other people that can give good advice and good things and lead good ways. But ultimately, it's you that has to have that ultimate say on what is right for you and what is not right for you. And there is a lot of factors that come into this. The biggest factor that will come into this is how we feel about ourselves. So for instance, inside my Unity program, one of the things that we teach inside Unity is how to create a spectacular relationship with yourself. So my ladies have just completed Unity that have gone through that program. And it's about moving really, really closer to who you are and closer with yourself and creating a better relationship with yourself. Why? Because you are your own energy gate. You are either allowing things in or actually repelling things out of your energy field. So when we are not receiving end results that we want for ourselves, what we're actually doing in the metaphysics is we're probably actively either repelling the result or preventing the result from being delivered to our energy field through our own energy, through our own physical being. Now, that will all center and come down on the relationship that we're having with ourselves. If we have a really good relationship with ourselves, very open and honest relationship. So if you think about what makes a good relationship, it's a beautiful journal prompt for all of you to journal what makes a good relationship. And then start to be that for yourself. It's really, really important. As we start to do that, we center and stabilize ourselves. And that requires you to be in radical self-honesty, and it requires you to be in discernment with yourself. Well, it's very difficult to be in radical self-honesty when the person that is speaking the most or the loudest in your mind is the inner critic. You are not the inner critic. The inner critic is not you. The inner critic is an amalgamation of ego-based energies. You are not the ego. The ego is the facilitator of separateness. The ego is the facilitator of illusion, the illusion that you are separate to the whole, the illusion that you are separate to the universe. That's what the ego is all about. And so you are not the inner critic. You are not the voice of the ego. And when we allow that voice, the voice of the ego, to be louder than any other voice in our heads, of course it's difficult to hear any other guidance. Of course it's difficult to hear the guidance of our higher selves, our angel, source, and all of those connections, all of those soul-based connections. So a brilliant way to stabilize ourselves is to start with our primary relationship with us, which is with ourselves. So, resources. I know that you have this book, Carol, the book Get Selfish, The Way is Through, my book. That is a powerful tool for showing up for yourself and really learning how to plug the leaks in your energy field. And then other resources that I would recommend is things like my new gratitude journal that's out at the moment, which is another really great way to begin to create a practice that you can use every day if you need, to create that practice of really improving your relationship with yourself. But ultimately, our relationships with ourselves are improved through how we speak to ourselves and how honest we are with ourselves. And some people, they believe that when they are speaking to the inner critic, that's them being honest to themselves. But actually, the truth is they're just being cruel to themselves. They're just being harsh on themselves. When we're not speaking to the inner critic, our inner voice, and especially the voice of our higher self, can be very to the point, but is always loving. And that's how we know when we are connected with source, or when we're connected with higher self, higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of energy. It can be very cutting sometimes, but never in a cruel way. It is always in a loving way, and is always loving. It's like somebody ripping off the Band-Aid to tell you the truth, right? But you know that they're coming from a good place as they tell you that truth. That's how your higher self will communicate with you. If your higher self is extremely critical of you, really ripping at you, tearing you down in any way, shape, or form, we're talking to an egoic part of our psyche, an egoic part of our energy. And that egoic part of our energy and our psyche has one job, and one job only, and that is to keep you in the illusion of separateness. And separateness is to keep you in judgment, which is the origin point of lack and separation. And it keeps you in that origin point of lack and separation. It means that you're out of discernment. You're not discerning. You're in judgment instead. And you're going to keep coding while in judgment. We're going to keep coding for the lack. We're going to keep coding for the separation. So the inner critic, or the appearance of the inner critic in my own head nowadays, it's a very rare occurrence, but when they do appear there, it is my call to action to move into deeper self-love, to move into deeper energy of holding myself in a deeper vibration of self-love and loving myself at a deeper level, and realizing, okay, this inner critic voice is not me. This is the master of illusion, the master of separation. But I can be its master. And that's the call to action, is to step up and take more ownership of yourself. and move into more loving frequencies and vibrations of yourself. And that's how you center yourself. And that is not a one-time deal. Like you do it once and you're like, I'm all good. Like a lovely person on my Facebook once a few years ago said, I tried that gratitude once, it didn't work. And I thought, I'm like, oh, bless. We got to keep going back to that journal. We got to keep giving the gratitude. We can't just do it once and be like, nah, it doesn't work. We have to keep showing up for it. And it's the same when we're centering ourselves. It's the same. It's a daily practice. It becomes a way of being. It becomes a way of life. And I think a lot of people with daily practices, they're like, gee, that sounds like a lot of work, but the time will pass anyway. So we can pass the time in alignment, or we can pass the time out of alignment. The time will always pass anyway. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's transmission of light. She was a long one, but I think it's a really, really important, powerful journey that we've been on today. If any of you are interested in any of the programs that I've mentioned, like the Unity program, which is an amazing program for moving into deeper self-alignment, which of course is life alignment, or if you are keen on learning how to grow your business with us, then Divine Planning Abundant Profits is a great place. So feel free to reach out to Team Hunter. You'll find them on Facebook, or you can DM me as well for any information on any of those programs. And I will speak to you guys soon. Take care.